My sister, I am your mind. Within you is a never-ending magnitude of infinite strength, wisdom, and will. You travel my roads through life, never knowing your own true reality, because my thoughts remain like distant quasars. You abuse me, never letting me say and do as I feel. Our thoughts split from love affairs to choice of friends. We argue like two enemies, yet we are good friends. Now there are moments when we harmonize with each other and become one with nature and reality. But these times are few, when after you have replenished yourself, the fear of the truth sets in. We split and you start to run again. Running through women, men, jobs, people, and life, looking for the answer when I had it all along. But I smile, because I am your mind. I was your mind yesterday, I am your mind today, and I'll be your mind tomorrow. And as our end draws near, we will become closer. But you and I, we will never be one. For I will part from you, and you will part from me. You finding another mind, and I another soul. And we'll travel on and on. By the way, I need more than sex to nourish my equilibrium, but I do need sex. I also need sun, trees, stars, creativity, and love, but you saturate my soul with too much of one and not enough of the other. Therefore I cry. But why do we cry? Because tears cleanse the windows of our minds. I am your mind. All your thoughts inside your mind, wanting to be free. Well, now you've got the chance to let your mind grow and be free. Because the music is just trying to say things to free your mind. And if you let your mind be free, then you can understand mine. There's no need to be afraid of me. I want to be your friend. I'm just trying to give you music from deep, deep, deep within. All of your dreams can become reality. My outreach is full, but you've only been turning me halfway. Turn me up, and alpha and theta waves will spew from your pores. Knowledge, peace, happiness, and prosperity will be placed at your feet. Let's create. Solve. Love. Accomplish. And unify. Assalamu alaikum.
Roy Ez, I Am Your Mind. Such a beautiful, beautiful track. Well, anytime you hear this track, that means my special guest is online. And today, no other than the amazing designer, writer, as a tutor, as a teacher, Mr. Junior Tomlin. is with me here. He's my special guest today on Feferity Radio. I want to welcome him. I want to say welcome to you, Mr. Tomlin. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing absolutely great.
The weather has been absolutely brilliant these couple of days. And how are you coping amidst all of these strange atmosphere at the moment?
Not too bad really, because me as an artist, I know about basically staying in and basically doing work and only coming out every couple of days, just for food and some fresh air and some exercise. I know all about that. Yeah, so it's not driving me too crazy.
It is quite interesting what you said. I mean, even like with, as an artist, like you said, you spend more time in creating and a little time out exhibiting. So in times like this, even though there are restrictions, but you're kind of used to it, as you said. Yes.
The only thing is like waiting in long queues to get into your local supermarket and getting there and there's no toilet paper.
That was back then. I think now it's even cheaper.
Yeah. Things are better now.
Yeah. I mean, I went to the market the other day, like a month ago or so, the normal things that we buy, the pepper, the aubergine, the onions and things like that, tomatoes. You can count them. Like pepper, you can count them for £1, like 4 for £1. And just last week when I went there, you got a whole heap of bag of pepper, which is now nearly gone. And aubergine is like, and I'm like, good on you, because you're trying to reserve it, probably waiting for the worst days to come so you can make more money. And now a lot of their good, especially the fruits, they're giving it away now.
It's time to make smoothies then.
Yeah. I mean, tell us about yourself. I mean, you're a London born, West London, Ladbroke Grove. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, well, I was born 1960 in Pevington General Hospital. That's been since torn down. And I went to school in West London. I went to Oxford Gardens, which was my primary and junior school. And then I went to Christopher Wren School, for secondary. Stayed until the upper sixth form. Went to college to do graphic design. Couldn't get a job as a graphic designer, so I changed everything to illustration, and I started to illustrate computer game packaging covers. Just to get my teeth into the industry, and then that led on to me being at the London Cartoon Centre. It led me on to doing my first record cover for Renegade Soundwave, which led me to do a whole lot of rave flyers.
Right.
So I do a whole lot of other things. I also worked on a horror film for 3 months called Nightbreed. I worked in a special effects company as a texture map artist for 3 years, and I've been a digital colorist on comics, and I'm also a tutor and a teacher.
I'm interested. I mean, when you said that you study, is it graphic design, right?
Yeah.
And you couldn't get a job. Why is that? Is it because you were not good enough?
I think it was basically that my portfolio. When you come from college, your portfolio has just got
very sweet.
College written right all over it.
Yeah.
And people would only take you seriously. Yeah, if you're either you're supremely good enough, or you've got printed jobs in your portfolio where people have actually taken you seriously, employed you, and the fruits of those labors are printed inside your portfolio.
Yes.
So you start to get printed jobs, and you start to get rid of all the older stuff, and that's quite good when you can handle the jackets from the stuff that you've done, and you put it in your portfolio, so people will take you more seriously. So it's basically a progression.
Right. I mean, some people will kind of want to frame that as being a black man Probably that's the reason why. I mean, would you lean to that sort of sympathy?
Not really. I didn't give it much thought at the time. I just basically just plowed through it, tried to leave no stone unturned, looking for jobs. You try one person, you try another person, you try a whole heap of things, and something will take.
Yeah.
And it did, and that basically drove me in that direction for a couple of years until that work fizzled out, and then I was doing something else until that fizzled out. So the work comes in spans of 5 years. You can have a nice run for 5 years, and then something happens in the market, and then you basically have to do a rethink.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nearly reinvent yourself for the next 5 years.
I mean, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, you go on.
No, you've just been. I mean, earlier on, you've mentioned some companies that you've worked for. You've been working as an artist for over 35 years, and being the kind of man you are in a society where there is not many of your kind doing what you do. Sometimes we as a populace get lost into who are the people representing us doing their thing, and being proud of their profession, and also the society at large, or the black community, being so proud of you. I mean, for 35 years you've been working for computer games company. You're creating packaging, network, comics, record labels, live event, and films. You started talking earlier on about the companies, but I don't think you probably drop a name. Would you like to give us an indication of those companies that you've worked for?
Okay. I work for, when it comes to computer game covers, I work for people who used to produce Atari and Amiga games, Logotron Entertainment, Linnell, Bug Bites,
right,
and a whole lot of other companies in the era. And then for the record covers, I work for Mute Records, Arista, Fashion Records, ZTT, and others. Yeah, okay. doing the record covers. And when I was doing when I was doing my texture mapping, I worked for a company called AMG Effects up in Soho.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was quite interesting. I worked up in Pinewood Studios on a horror film. It was a Clive Barker horror film called Nightbreed. Yeah, I was a creature technician, basically doing sculpts of creatures to be turned into masks.
How does that work? Tell us about that more.
In the film Nightbreed, it was basically like a creature feature. There was a lot of creatures in it. Some of the creatures, some of the people had prosthetics, where it's just pieces of foam, which is sculpted and then molded and attached to the person's face. Yeah,
wow.
And then basically blended in. But my job was to basically make the masks, where you get a ceramic head of a person, and then you apply it with clay, and then you sculpt on top of the clay, on top of the mask, to make this great big sculpt. And then you have to make a mold.
Wow.
And then once you make the mold, you've got a 3-part mold, and then you put in the foam.
Right.
You bind it up together, you put in the foam, and then when the foam sets, you release the mold, and then you've got your mask that you just take off from the core. And then you paint it. But before you paint it, you have to take a very careful pair of scissors to snip around the edges of it.
Okay.
Yes, but when the two pieces join, there's always an edge.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you paint it there, and then it's basically like you're ready to be used.
That seems very hard work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Delicate as well.
Yeah, it's great work. You know, because that was the first time I've ever done anything like that. You know, what I sculpted that. Go on.
Yes. No, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, the only thing that I did sculpt at school in clay was a ceramic hand.
Yeah.
And things like that, but not a creature, not a human face. So this was quite interesting, and it was fun.
I mean, that is definitely fun, and you must have been so proud and excited the first time you got the result right, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, it's very exciting when you actually finish it off and you paint it.
Yes.
So your color scheme, or you can take the airbrush out and you can basically fine airbrush it so it's nice and blended.
Yes.
So you know, it looks quite beautiful, and it's even better when it's lit properly and it's in the film.
You see, now you've given me ideas, Junior. You have given me ideas, and probably I want to put this as a demand for you if you can, because you know when there's this now, you know, we have, you know, people have to wear a mask going into public transport and things, right?
Yes.
And I've been thinking of having something very unique, you know, just for myself, you know. And whilst you're talking about this facial mask, would you do anything for someone like me if the demand comes, right? To create a special face mask for freestyle? That's an interesting challenge. As you know, I haven't done it for over 25 years and I haven't got the materials. You know, I definitely want to have something unique. Not the surgery mask on. If I'm going to have something on, I want to have it the full Monty, you know what I mean? Something I represent.
Yeah. I think when people go out wearing masks, I think it's nearly like the idea of you're a superhero and you're hiding your identity. Yeah. But now I think it is true. I think you know what they're saying now, shut up, don't say anything. We don't want to see your mouth. So for me, I can rather say, well, you know what I mean, you don't see my mouth, you don't see my face. How about that? I find it quite intriguing, because when COVID is all finished, the government will have to come up with a law saying that masks will be banned. Yeah? You can only enter a bank without a mask. So it's quite interesting. It is very interesting. I mean, you know, it is, it's very interesting. I mean, amongst many, of your coloring credits, you've got Marvel, you've got the Panini, the Titan 2000 AD and John Brown Publishing. Tell us about those great achievements. Okay. Because I first started off when it came to coloring with 2000 AD. Yeah, I started off with a character from Judge Dredd called Judge Janus, who is like a psychop. So that was my first strip. Right. Yeah, so I'd done about on and off about 3 or 4 years at 2000 AD. But I was also looking for other work as well. So I got the gig to do, would you believe, Action Man. Yeah, coloring in Action Man. So I'd done that for 3 years, and that was great because they liked one of the images that I showed them, where the comic strip was colored in nice and smoothly rather than just flat color. Everything was molded, the people's faces were molded with shadow and tone and everything. So they liked that. So I got the job for a couple of years. And that led me on to doing pocketbook covers. I've also coloured in Transformers, Armada, Iron Man, Spider-Man strip. Yeah, the Hulk, Fantastic Four. So it was quite fun. So I've done that for a couple of years, and then I was also working for a company called John Brown Publishing, and they had the license to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That I thoroughly enjoyed, because it was a smaller strip where I was just basically doing like 5 pages at a time, which was fun. But the funny thing is, another company that I was working for, they was doing the same thing. They had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was doing like longer strips, like 15 pages or 10 to 15 pages, and that was quite fun. The colouring style changed, but it was a whole lot of fun. So that's a few companies that I worked for. So I enjoyed my time colouring in comics, because it's therapeutic in a way.
It is. Any art form is very therapeutic, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're taking something here which is just black and white line, and you're basically adding the mood, you're adding the colour. Yeah, you're making something basically come to life.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have a creative mind in order to be in the art industry, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, someone like you, like any artist really, it's like their work span in a particular place or an environment is very, very short, isn't it? Artists don't get to spend time like yourself creating in one particular environment for a long time, isn't it? It's always moving and shifting.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable because it's sometimes it removes me from, say, your comfort zone, but it's also interesting to see how I basically deal with it and to add another technique to my arsenal of techniques.
Absolutely.
So if somebody said, they wanted a comic strip coloured in, I say, I could do that. If they wanted a record cover, yes, I could do that. If they wanted it in the style of a comic strip, I could do that. If they wanted it in a 3D image, I could do 3D as well. With play and on the computer.
Wow. Okay, that's my special guest here, Junior Tomlin, a teacher, an artist, a tutor into the digital art design. Talking to me, Freestyle, here on Feferity Radio. Well, we're going to take a track, and that will lead us to top of the hour, 8 o'clock. And when we come back, I'm sure Junior will be staying with us here for another few minutes or so, because we got more to cover. Let's all enjoy this beautiful track, and when we come back, we'll speak to Junior on the other side of this conversation. Feferity Radio, my name is Freestyle.
Que eu quero passar, pois o samba está animado. O que eu quero é samba. Este samba que é misto de maracatu. É samba de preto veio, samba de preto do. Mas que nada, samba como esta tá legal. Você não vai querer que ele chegue no final. Frente que eu quero passar, pois o samba está animado. O que eu quero é samba. Este samba que é misto de maracatu. É samba de preto veio, samba de preto do. Mas que nada.
went to Africa and you told the Africans that they must all become Christians. Because if they become Christians, when they die, they will go to heaven. Because heaven is a wonderful place. Ladies and gentlemen, if heaven was such a good place, do you think white people will tell black people about it? So we came to England with all the expectations of being equal. Here we are in the mother country. The white man can't come to terms with it. And I'll tell you something, as I've said before. If you English people, not white people, if you're not English, you're welcome to stay in England. If you're English and you don't like the way we are running England, please leave.
All day, every day, playing your favorite songs. This is Feferity Radio.
Crazy Boutique are proud sponsors of Feferity Radio. A Crazy Boutique inspired by 50s and 60s African fashion nostalgia, yet quintessentially British with a London accent, creating custom-made orders for special occasions. A Crazy Boutique create unique hair and clothing accessories that are quirky, classic and stylish for both men and women. A Crazy is a zero-waste design boutique, sourcing distinctive and colourful textiles from remnants, making most of their items one of a kind. You can find A Crazy Boutique on Instagram and Facebook. For more information, email acrazyboutique@gmail.com or visit the website www.acrazyboutique.com.
Feferity Radio, your nostalgic station.
This is Solitude by William Klein Bailey. Feferity Radio. My special guest today is Mr. Junior Tomlin, an artist, a teacher, a tutor, a designer, and he's got at one point, he was tied to the Salvador Dali of Rave. Well, now we're going to talk about some of his influences on record labels and rave flyers. Let me bring Mr. Tomlin here a little bit and welcome Mr. Junior again here. Welcome, Mr. Junior.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
We really appreciate your company here. You're one of the, so many talented black people here in the UK that we don't normally hear, from at all. You're secretly doing your own thing without telling us here on Feferity Radio, and I'm not too happy about.
I like that. I've been doing it secretly.
Tell us about the 90s, because the 90s for you was like a big, massive era, isn't it, for you?
Yeah, that was the era where I was basically more prolific doing artwork. It was.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, life was a bit more. Life was easier and more free then. Yeah, where you had more opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, opportunities you had to do, like, make music, do record covers, do rave flyers, meet people, hang out, and genuinely live and have fun. Yeah, I love the 90s.
People love the 90s. Not so much for fathers, but for creative artists. The 90s was a great time. In the 90s, you also designed for the Renegade Soundwave and also many other flyers for raves. Tell us about those Renegade Soundwave designs.
Yeah, for Renegade Soundwave, I've done 3 record covers for them. The first one being the Phantom, which was like the Phantom. It was a great, iconic piece of music, and it also had a great cover, which I designed. Because the story from that was I was working at the London Cartoon Centre as a tutor, tutoring students to do airbrushing. So across the road, there was a record company called Mute Records, who probably heard about me, who came over to basically find me to do a record cover for his band Renegade Soundwave, and that's how that started. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was in 19...
Say that again?
Yeah, that was 1989.
1989.
31 years ago.
What was the story on the cover? Because every album covers, tells. When you look at the album cover without opening to read about it, you can tell what story is inside. What was the story? Fascinating story of the album cover you've done.
Well, the story behind that one, Space Gladiator, is that sometimes I take the cue to basically get the inspiration to record. So when they say like Space Gladiator, I was thinking, Space Gladiator, and at that particular time, what was fresh inside my head here was like RoboCop. So basically, like the character is like, it's a female RoboCop type character with a gun and a shield.
Right.
And on the shield it says RSW, which stands for Renegade Soundwave.
Right.
Yeah. So I basically wanted to have like dominance on the planet Earth. So basically, the Earth is basically half of Earth cracked up where you can actually see holes through it.
Oh.
It's a bit deep in places.
Yeah,
but I love doing that cover.
Beautiful. Picture that you've painted. What about the colors though that you kind of like used to combine? How does that influence some of these work you're doing?
Well, I use colors straight out of the bottle, really, because I use like acrylic paint.
Right.
Yeah. So I used to use Magicolor inks to do a lot of my work. And then I changed to acrylic. Then I changed to like Lecture.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Liquitex.
Yeah.
Liquitex acrylic.
Okay.
But the colors for the Renegade Soundwave one, I basically wanted it to be like chrome. I wanted it to basically look shiny and metallic.
Right.
So she's in like a metallic suit, but only her face looks human.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a bit like a cyborg.
Yeah. I mean,
rather than an android.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that sort of robotic notion there, you're talking. I mean, the reason I was asking you about the colors is that colors plays a lot of role. I mean, in terms of the vision, how we capture image is through the colors. Yeah. When they give you like commissions like that, did they leave everything to you to say, well, you just work it out, or did they come up with different colors to choose from?
I worked out the color scheme myself. Because it's like everyone knows that normally the sky is blue. Normally clouds are white. It's grey, yeah? If it's overcast, everything is a little bit grey. So all my colors is basically based on like real things, real colors. Yeah? And they're usually bright. As I said, they're straight out the bottle or straight out of the tube. I do not mute my colors. Yeah?
Right.
And so my classification of my color sense is my work is as colorful as African fabric.
Right.
Yeah, very colorful. And I'm sitting indoors looking out my window, and what I can see a rainbow. So it's a very good day.
I guess these designs that you've done on Soundwave and some of the, Rave flyers are now collector's items. Is that true to say so?
Yes, they are. Because the track is very, very iconic, and it's still played on the radio or in people's like sets today. And the cover really kicked off the track. So it's a nice marriage of image and the music. So I've done that one for them, and I also done Biting My Nails of a former track of theirs. Where
Biting My Nails?
Like, Biting My Nails.
Oh.
Yeah. So what it is like it's a barley mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, with 3 robotic snakes on top of it, and a big grinning face coming out of a speaker box. Yeah.
I mean, do you used to back in the days? Do you used to get in touch with Sun Ra? I mean, have you read his stuff? Is this something that you were inspired by?
I don't usually have like much access to like a whole lot of like record covers, because when I used to go to like find records in the shop, I'm basically after like dub albums that you heard about on the local reggae show, which is very quite interesting. It's only like in my later years where I've heard of like I've seen like covers for Herbie Hancock or Miles Davis.
Right.
Yeah, weather reports, and see the different colors and different styles. So that's much later that I was like slightly influenced, because everything that you see is all goes back to the back of your head.
Yeah.
So sometimes your line is similar to something that you've seen years ago, but it's all embedded in there. But unconsciously, you might draw something similar.
True.
But most of the time, I like to do something here which is like creative, fresh, and no one's seen before.
Right.
So I try to keep it original as possible.
Right. Because I mean, a lot of the way you're describing it, it's got a sort of like sunrise effect on it, that sort of serenity, that sort of fantasy futurism, that sort of like a kind of sci-fi sort of mystique about him. You know what I mean? So a lot of your work, when you're describing it, it kind of leans to that.
Yeah, because it's mad because it's like you can term my work as like science fiction meets Afrofuturism meets surrealism meets fantasy.
Right.
All mashed up together.
Interesting. And how did you get the title Salvador Dali of Rave?
That's a nice one because how I got that title is that I used to work for a record label called Kicking Records down in Westbourne Park Road.
All right.
Yeah, and I used to basically go there just to hang out with Peter, the head of the company, and the other DJs at the time who used to go down there. Yeah. And so one day I was there, and Peter he said, "You got fan mail," and I said, "What fan mail?" So I read this letter, and towards the end of the letter it says, "And told Junior Tomlin he's the Salvador Dali of Rave."
Huh?
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about that, is that at the back of one of the records that I'd done the cover for, it's there in black and white.
Oh, answer.
Yeah, from the early 90s, that was known as the Salvador Dali of Rave, so that stuck.
I mean, sorry, go on.
Yeah, the Salvador Dali of Rave without the mustache.
There is something about like rave flyers, because if you look at on my website, I love creating flyers. I mean, that represent different occasion. Tell us about, for you, the most memorable rave flyer that you've designed.
Okay. I think the most memorable flyer has always got to be my first flyer that I ever done.
Yeah?
Yeah, the first flyer that I ever done. It's basically, to me, that's the one that basically gets you into other jobs. People will take you seriously as a flyer designer from like your first flyer, because if you've got a print run of like 250,000, that's 250,000 people seeing your work, seeing your name, and then the other promoters will see your name as well. So if they're stuck for a flyer designer and they've got one of my older flyers, they'll get in touch with me. So it becomes like easier, where doing flyers is basically like it's like an advert. You can say it's like an advert. It's advertising a rave, but technically it's advertising an artist.
So what made you stood out at that time when you're designing a flyer is completely different, like the way you design a record label or making a face mask or 3D image and stuff like that. What made it stand out? I mean, how could you design a flyer to make it stand out from the rest?
Good question. I just think it's my interpretation and my vision of the brief, because the record covers are different in the way where you've got one simple statement, which is the name of the track, that basically bouncing off to create the artwork for the cover. Yeah. Some of the raves, some of them would leave it with me like carte blanche, saying, "Make it the best flyer you've ever done," or they'll say, this is the name of the rave. Like wandering in the wilderness, and then you put your thinking hat on, and you're thinking, wandering in the wilderness. So you start to basically research people walking in the desert, and then you know that it's going to have some sort of like space setting or sky, and something on the ground. So it's all quite interesting. It's all organic, the way it all comes about.
And can you remember, because sometimes when you design a flyer and people, that's what sells the event, isn't it? as much as the artist, or I mean, you know, who's going to be present there. But the flyer will be the first thing that, if you haven't heard about the event, would stimulate you for that particular occasion. Can you remember the rave, a flyer that you've designed for a particular rave that you're thinking, or everybody was like talking about? You're thinking, well, yeah, I know you're talking about your first design, but tell us about that. Can you remember?
Yeah, because there's one particular flyer that I've done where it's nearly, I'm more associated with this particular flyer than any other one. It's the one that I've done for Peace Fest. It's basically like a bald-headed man in the field with fire coming out of his ears, with large eyes and a large mouth, which means that he's having fun. Yeah, he's so surprised of his surroundings. Right, he's in the grassy field with like other people of with the same like mentality of like having fun and being off of your head, right, on like substances. So that is the flyer that people usually remember me mostly for. Is the Peace Fest one, and so that one spawned a similar one, where it's a woman with the same expression in the field.
Yeah.
And then came the half and half, where I would just call it that they're brothers and sisters, but they're basically like half black and half white. So you basically could say they're mixed race.
Yeah.
With a line down in the middle. So the man one was like, it was a black funky dread and a white funky dread. Yes. And the other one, was a woman, a black woman and a white woman. Yeah, we could definitely see the line was going down to separate both of them, which is quite interesting. And so I'm known for that range of flyers.
Wow. It doesn't seem like a lot of thought being put into it, but definitely you talk about research. I mean, to design something so maybe in the eye simple, it takes a lot of deliberation and putting together of different sort of instances and circumstances, isn't it, to make it work?
Yes. It certainly does. Because there was this other... Because with flyers, you have to do your research. Yeah, you can't sort of like make up a face out of your head and like stick it down on the fire, thinking that when you airbrush it, it's going to work.
Yeah.
So the lovely thing about in those days, there's always Sunday magazines. Saturday and Sunday magazines, and I used to collect the magazines and just basically take out faces for reference. So if I wanted a face, I would basically look through a folder with faces and say, I'm going to draw that face and that face and combine them.
Incredible.
And that's the same. And that's what happened here with when I needed reference material, I'll have to go down to the library to find reference material, like a book, come back and then draw it, then give the book back, or look in magazines.
Yeah.
So that's how you do reference materials, and this was before the advent of Google search engines and everything else. So you had to do it by hand.
Yeah.
Rather than say, oh look, it's on the computer, I'll download it onto the desktop and start. No, everything was done. Everything was done by hand in those days.
Hard life.
Yeah, everything was done live.
I mean, tell us where we can see some of these beautiful artwork that you've done. Yes,
you can see my work here on my website, juniortomlin.com. Yeah, if you go to juniortomlin.com, my website is full of my digital coloring.
Yeah.
Yeah, digital coloring, my record covers, my rave flyers, my 3D work. Yeah, and all the other works that I do, and some of my more personal stuff, and some Afrofuturism.
Right. Wow, that's very interesting. I mean, we should check that out. JuniorTomlin.com, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the-
juniortomlin.com.
that's
Yeah.
very simple. I mean, in all of these, someone might be thinking to themselves, well, you've acquired so much experience and wealth of artifacts and to show for your experience. What are you giving back to the young people? Are you teaching?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to teach more. I would like to basically go into schools and have talks, or do things like having a master class, in schools, teaching them about, art, and say that you can have a career in art, and that's no one should be afraid of their talent, and try to always create, because there will be always people out there who try to knock you back and tell you that you can't do it or your stuff is rubbish, but persevere. That is the key to go forward, is persevere. Do not listen to the detractors. If you have a dream and you have a vision, follow it. Otherwise, you spend your entire life looking around your corner and say, oh, I should have done this.
Yeah, that's true. And at this time, again, talking about the wealth of experience that you've gathered and everything else that you've done, you've got a book out, right?
Yes, I have.
Right, I haven't got hold of the book yet, so I mean I can't really comment right through onto it. But tell us about it.
Yeah, the book, it contains 30 years of my artwork doing record covers and rave flyers. It also has in it a commentary of all the work that I've ever done, how it was started, how it was finished, and little anecdotes. And it's also got like bits in it from the people that I worked for doing the covers.
Right.
So it's a good read. It's 160 pages, full of color, and rather full of 30 years of my life.
And all of these, flyers and labels that you talked about, are they in the book as well?
They're all in the book.
Ah.
They're all in the book.
Okay. Who's the publisher for this book?
Yeah, the publisher for this book here, they're called Velocity Press.
Velocity Press.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can go online and look for velocitypress.uk. Yeah, and you can go onto the website and you can basically order the book straight from them.
Okay. What's the cost of the book? I mean, how much the book cost?
The book will cost, if you order it from Velocity Press, it's £20 plus £5 postage and packaging. Okay. So the total for it all is £25. But it's a studied book, a great read, and something to have on your coffee table or on your shelf to show anybody who's interested in art, to give them inspiration.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If somebody purchase the book, would they be inspired to especially somebody who don't know that they've got this creative art form in them? Would they be inspired, or is it something that we just read and be marvel at somebody's work?
No, if you got creative interest there, you'll be inspired. Believe me, because if you love art, you'll be inspired. But the thing is that art is there to basically make people talk and to inspire people into doing things that they normally wouldn't do.
Yeah.
To get people to be creative, to go out there and be creative and be the best that they can be.
Absolutely. I mean, what do you make of I'm just going to throw this at you actually, of the art industry here? I mean, the black art industry in this country. What do you make of it? Is this something that you've seen progression, or you've seen? when you look in the future, you can say, well, we've got something good going.
Yeah. The thing is that there is a lot of black art out here in England, and black artists. And the most beautiful thing here is that because you've got things like social media. Say on Facebook, you've got black artist groups springing up all over the place, in the States and over here, and there's a whole lot of phenomenal talent out there. Yeah. Before all this social media, everyone was few and far between, and nobody knew about the next person. And so now you can basically go onto a page and see other people's artwork. And also the beauty of that, is that they, have exhibitions where you can actually go and physically see the artwork and meet the artist. Yeah, so no artist is alone out there. Once you sort of like make connections, with other artists. It
is, yeah. I mean, but still, a lot of people might find it very difficult, to make it, because, to be an artist is one thing, just like a musician. But if you don't have who to sing to and who to buy your music, then it's become very a daunting task, isn't it? Or ambition.
Yeah, well, think about getting into the art market like a brick wall and ivy. Ivy will grow in anything. Ivy will grow into a wall. So basically, you can go anywhere. You've got talent. You can go anywhere, and it's not just basically like drawing for drawing's sake. Yeah, you can get into the television business. You can get into the film business. Yeah, you can get into like doing like computer games. Anything that involves like drawing. Yeah. Is your key to do drawing for life, or design, or concept design, anything, product design, but you need to draw. Get out there and draw and practice.
Yeah, and especially this time where a lot of children have got time, on their hands, so drawing or maybe a different art form that they can utilize their skills is a very good way to go, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is, because the other good thing that you could say with drawing, you can, if you understand drawing and you understand like lines and 3D space, you can go into architecture.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
See, the difference. There's not much difference here between like constructing a drawing and constructing a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing is that the house is three-dimensional and you basically live in it. The thing with that constructing a drawing, you have to understand how the bits work in your drawing, even if you're at a different angle to see it. So basically, your perception of it, will be greatly improved.
Also the thing about the art is about the value. Who gives value to the work? Because for an artist, if you were to validate your work, I'm not sure what sort of value we'll put to it. But when you look at a lot of the art industry these days, you see a lot of line or two lines, and the value of those lines, just two lines drawn from a vertical point or wherever, is like £1,000 for those artwork. And you have incredible artists, doing some really beautiful explanatory form. And so who gives value to these work?
That is a very good question, because it's like I always thought that the person who gives like the value to the work sometimes is not the artist, but the artist agent or management or the arts critic. Say the arts critic he likes art, and he sees as you say, he sees a picture with two lines, but yet to him it's heavenly, and he does this nice write-up piece. So everybody jumps on his bandwagon and says, "Oh, if he thinks it's great and it's worth this much, I will think it's great and it's worth even more." So it's sometimes art is like overinflated, but it's like, where is the skill in drawing two lines? Drawing a portrait, that is skill. Drawing like a clump of grass, or painting a person's like portrait, or painting a landscape, that is skill. Drawing two lines, you know what? You could just move your arms up twice and you've got your two lines. So it's a very strange thing, about who decides. Because the artist value, they always tend to value their work less than other people would. But when they sort of like realize what the artwork is, they say, wait a minute, I'm just as good as that person over there, so I'm going to value my work to match that person. So in other words, never sell yourself short.
Yeah, exactly. It is quite a really an interesting phenomenon, that, because when I go into exhibition, you look at some piece of work, I mean, very incredible, and you look at another work, it is just so what you call it, bland. Right?
Yes.
There is no spice to it, there is no shape, there is no form to it. And the way they will interpret these work and make it so luxuriously beautiful and extraordinary.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, really?
Yes, I know, but it's like some people like full art, and then there's some people like abstract minimalism. You know, where you've got a large canvas and you just got one little dot on the canvas, and they say, yeah, that's art, that's minimalism. Yeah. What does it mean to you? Well, it just means speck.
Did you saw the banana on the wall? I think this was, was this year or last year? There was an exhibition on art. They stuck, somebody just put a black tiger bound tape on a banana on the wall. And that is, I think that banana was sold, I don't know, some £1,000 or something like that. You heard about that?
That one, I missed that one.
Yeah, I mean, this was all over the news, like, and everybody around, I mean, was looking at the banana, going there to observe the banana, just a banana on the wall, stuck on on a black tape on the wall, and some...
because that basically could be like one of those pieces here where you know that after time that banana is just going to disintegrate and fall down. So it's neither like it's an installation piece. If it's a real banana, it's an installation piece because that banana is not going to stay there, and get bought by a collector to find that his banana is going to fall on the floor.
I think somebody ate the banana and then paid for it. I mean, I bought.
Guess what?
Uh-huh.
Every.
Sorry, go ahead. We're losing you there. Are you there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that again. Sorry.
I said every couple of days they would probably have to replace the banana.
I'm sure. I mean, going to the co-op and get like 5 bananas for 75p, and then you make £1,000 out of each banana being eaten or something like that. Incredible. Why can't I do that?
Well, you can do that. Yeah, you can take an apple.
I did try it, but I didn't get anywhere. You know what I mean? But
the art world is interesting. It's fun.
I mean, the whole thing is about value, isn't it? It's about value based. I think it is very important because maybe who controls the industry controls the value of what they see is valuable. But I mean, that is another debate for another day, really, isn't it?
Yeah, because the lovely thing about art, is that say if it was produced like 200 years ago, 200 years ago, that it didn't have much value, but historically now it's got value, it's got meaning because it's got history behind it, history through it. It's stamped full of history that it came from that time.
Yep.
Yeah. So me doing that piece of artwork 30 years ago is more valuable now than it was when I first created it because it had less story.
Absolutely, and that's why you got the book out. I mean, for people to see all those beautiful works that you've done. Tell us about where to get the book again. You said it's Velocity Press, yeah? That's the publisher.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's where they can get it. And it's cost, to buy and to post £25, right?
Yeah, £25 altogether. So do not delay. Get onto the website and buy today.
And if someone someone wants to get in touch with you, you say you're doing some online tutorial at the moment. How would somebody get in touch with you?
Yes, I'm doing online teaching at the moment. Yeah, with committing art. Yeah, for the next 3 weeks, where I'll be like teaching people how to draw. Yeah, but otherwise I do one-to-one sessions on how to use Adobe Illustrator.
Okay.
So I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, all by the name Junior Tomlin. So I didn't change my name in any way, shape, or form. So you type in Junior Tomlin, you will get me. You just get to a page here where it's just full of colorful images, and then you know that you found me.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I want to say thank you very much, Mr. Tomlin, for coming here and expressing yourself on Feferity Radio here. And I hope that people will go on to Velocity Press and trying to purchase your book, especially if you're trying to get into the art industry and want to profess or develop your art skills. This is one of the books to get. So Junior.
Yep, Junior Tomlin.
I want to say thank you very much for coming here, and have yourself a beautiful day.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome, sir. It's a pleasure. I mean, what we do here as well, we try and bring out the best of what is out there, and having you here today shows that you're one of the best of what is out there. Thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And let's take now one from Grover, Washington. And I will tell you all about what is coming up tomorrow. Okay? I'm not going to say much, but